Hi, it's Ra, Rishi Kavi Raghudas from Star Presence Astrology, here to give the astrological forecast for Monday, July 6th, 2026. Well, it's a stop-start sort of a day. We've had some really volatile energy recently with the Mars Uranus conjunction. We've had Mars trining Pluto. Today we have the moon moving into Mars-ruled fire sign Aries, so it is still a get-up-and-go kind of energy, but we may have a bit of a slow start to it. And that is because the sun today is at 14, moving to 15 degrees of ultra-sensitive, often moody, but generally nurturing water sign Cancer. But today it's in an exact hard 90-degree square to Saturn, the planet of discipline and structure and mastery and accomplishment on the positive side of things, but also frustration and restriction negatively. And this is one of those hard energy aspects which basically says, the early part of the day could be a little frustrating, or delays may be feasible, or just there's just kind of nothing much happening in the way that we want it to go. That is how the day begins. 3:47 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time is when it's exact. 6:47 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 11:47 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. The day gets easier as it moves on, as we get further away from this exact square, but it is certain that the early part of the day is not a day where you should expect a lot of things happening quickly. Now, the moon changes signs early in the day as well. It moves from the late degrees of mystical, magical, often escapist water sign Pisces into the dynamic and impetuous and Mars-ruled fire sign of Aries. That's why I'm all in red here today for the Mars-ruled sign of Aries. That occurs at 8:07 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 11:07 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and 4:07 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. But then the moon just does make fortunate aspects for the rest of the day, so despite that Sun square Saturn aspect, it ain't so bad. The moon, when it moves into Aries, when it gets to 1 degree of Aries, makes a harmonious flowing trine to Jupiter, the planet of good fortune and expansion, which has just recently moved to Leo. So it's at 1 degree of Leo right now. 10:41 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 1:41 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and 6:41 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. That's nice and optimistic and is a go get 'em, let's see what we can do kind of energy. And then later in the afternoon, we have the moon at 4 degrees of Aries aspecting 3 different planets, which are all within that same degree. It makes a harmonious 60-degree sextile to Uranus, a chaos planet, but this is more of a liberating, do something different kind of energy. Uranus is at late 3, early 4 degrees of Gemini. 3:26 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time is when that's exact. 6:26 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 11:26 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. And then about a half hour later, 40 minutes or so later, it makes a conjunction to Neptune, the planet of dreams and visions, which is kind of foggy, but also can be highly creative and spiritual. It's a nice meditative kind of energy. And Neptune is about to station and turn retrograde during the overnight hours tonight. So this is it could be a potent moon square, moon conjunct Neptune energy today. 4:12 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time is when that's exact. 7:12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 12:12 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. And just a half hour after that, the moon, still at 4 degrees of Aries, makes a harmonious 60-degree sextile to Pluto, the power planet, now at 4 degrees of Aquarius. That's nice and empowering energy. So we've got this do something different energy, the sextile to Uranus. We've got the conjunction to Neptune, which may fog us out a little bit or cause us to just kind of slow down to be meditative. And then we have the moon sextile Pluto energy, which is good for self-empowerment and researching things. 4:48 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time is when that's exact. 7:48 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 12:48 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. And then finally in the evening, we have the moon now at 5 degrees of Aries, making yet another sextile, harmonious 60-degree angle to Mars itself at 5 degrees of Gemini. 6:49 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 9:49 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and 2:49 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. So this day just doesn't stop, even though it may get off to a very slow start. I'm Ra, Rishi Kavi Raghudas from Star Presence Astrology. Now, if you would like to have a personal reading with me, you can book it on my website. Please do. starpresence.net. Remember, from the very moment that you're born, you've got star presence. Enjoy today, no matter what.